I'm with you, and it's going to get better. I know it is. The reason I know it's going to get better is because, once again, I always have a 1-3-5, like where we're going to be in 1 year, where we're going to be in 3 years, and where we're going to be in 5 years, and staying true to that.
Hello and welcome to the Stroke It podcast. I'm Jenny Townsend, your host. Thank you for joining me. I'm so excited for you to be inspired to live your life fully, to take ownership of your time, your schedule, and your life, but most importantly, learn and grow and develop personally and professionally. Myself and others are going to share life lessons that we've learned through leadership, through heartache, through pain, through struggles, and we'll be sharing some success stories with you as well. Super eager for you to dive in, learn, and grow, and once again, just take ownership of your life today.
Hello, I'm back. Jenny Townsend here. I am so excited to be back doing the quickies. I want to thank you all for tuning in. It has been a grind. 2025 started and it has been a grind season so far. So I had to make the decision to review a lot of our past podcasts that were highlighted in season 1 and season 2 and a few from season 3 to reintroduce to all the listeners. If you joined the podcast in the last year, you may never have heard of any of those podcasts or those featured guests as well. So I am back today with a quickie. I'm going to bring you up to speed of what's been happening, review some of those podcasts, talk to you about a little podcast or two that I've been on recently as regards to the music school. I took a month off, which is crazy to even think. So anyways, so today's podcast is going to be all kinds of things. And I am recording from my hotel room. My husband and I decided to do a staycation for the 4th of July weekend, and which is in Sarasota, and we're at Longboat Key Club, and it has been raining, and it's just rain. And I was like, well, I have some podcasting I need to get caught up on, so I decided to break out the computer and film. So I'm actually in the room, in the hotel room. So if you hear knocking, it could be housekeeping or who knows what. We're next to the beach, so I do hear some screaming kids running down the beach. There's lightning and it's raining, so I don't know why people are out there, but they are. And my husband's out on his laptop, so he may walk in. So there may be some distractions, but that's because I am not in my typical podcast studio. I am shooting from my hotel room. So I always love the fact that, like, with podcasting, you can do that anywhere, which is so fun, and it's a great time to really just download and get creative when you have nothing else to do but sit inside because it's raining. So anyways, so thank you so much for tuning in, and this episode, like I said, is going to feature a little bit of some stuff that I've been working on, and if you have any questions, obviously you can DM me. I'm going to be talking about how I've been back in the business and grinding, because there's some key lessons that I've learned over the past 6 months. So I'm going to be talking about that, getting back to the basics, auditing operations and time auditing for team members, implementation of EOS. So I had 3 people within a week basically not work for the company anymore. So I'm going to dive a little bit into that. That happened in January. And then I'm going to highlight, like I said, a couple of those past episodes and a couple of the episodes that I've been on. So let's just go right into the grind. So at the end of 2024, I was reviewing our year, and I knew we needed to make some changes. So I brought in some coaches and we implemented EOS, which is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. If you have not read the book Traction, I highly recommend this book. Not only did I read the book, but I have it on Audible as well. So if you are a business owner and you are in the grind and you're struggling with your business, you are on the hamster wheel and you are feeling like you're failing, definitely get that book. It's all about implementing systems, rocks, accountability, and the right team members in the right roles. And we tend to all manage a lot of different things, and we can get sucked back into our business pretty quickly. So 2018, I was able to step out of my business. 19, I was pretty much out of my business. 2020, I had to come back in because of COVID. But 2021, I was able to step back out, travel, have work-life balance. I was playing tennis, and I just thought I had it all figured out. Then I wrote the book. The book launched April of 2024, and then we were doing our expansion and I had to jump back into the business. And once again, I got sucked right back in and I was on that hamster wheel. And I have been on that hamster wheel for an entire year, trying to figure out who are the right people, how to strategically plan for additional expenses, growth. The economy has been changing. People with their entitlement, with their opinions, and just not wanting to work at the capacity of needing, not buying into the vision, having a lot of resentment towards me and others. There has been jealousy issues. Anyways, if any of this sounds like you, I highly recommend getting the book Traction. Last year, my word for the year was going to be accountability. And I really felt like accountability was super important, not only for myself, but for my team members. That way we could track progress. Where are we going? What are we doing? Did you do the task? Did you meet the deadline? And I went to an event and they're like, that's the worst word you could possibly have if you want to manage people. So I turned my word into grace, and I allowed grace, which was the worst word to have last year. And I allowed people to fail. I allowed them to get away with not completing tasks, and I essentially just became like a peacemaker instead of being a boss, which led to the decline of the company, and like major declines when we should have been actually increasing due to all the other variables that were going on too. So I had to jump back in, and it has been a journey. It also is challenging too when you have so many people working for you and you want to create opportunities within your organization for them. So you create promotions, and you create more tasks, and you create all these things, because at the end of the day, you want to promote people within, and you want them to have a future within your company, because you don't want them to become complacent or bored. If they become complacent and bored, they don't thrive. They don't really actually push themselves. They don't continue growing, and they become bored and depressed, and then they start thinking that maybe they want to go work somewhere else. And so retaining that talent is really, really important to me. So anyways, I created all these different things, and turns out those were not the right jobs for those individual people. And I was taking some of my teachers and giving them administrative tasks to do, when in actuality I should have hired administrative people. So that's what I learned with the book Traction. So there's basically 4 core positions. So you have your operations, you have your admin, you have your sales, and then you have your marketing. And so we transitioned some people out. We dissolved our entire leadership team the first month of January. We had 1 person quit upon returning to the office, and then 2 people were terminated due to a variety of things. So we transitioned what we called our studio manager into our membership director. So sales is the only thing that person's supposed to be doing, referral partners, building the business. And that means making a lot of calls every single week, anywhere from like 25 to 50, sometimes 75, depending on the week of the month it is. And some weeks it could be as much as 100. So we did that in January. Okay, we hired an administrative assistant, got her in place. She's absolutely amazing. She's learning all the admin. Fast forward to this past week, 2 weeks ago, I was very much taken back with like how people were actually working. And so we did a time audit, which I don't know if you've read the book, Buy Back Your Time, but you can do time audits. And what I realized from team members is that they weren't actually using their time to the best of their ability. They were on hamster wheels, and they weren't doing those priority projects that we needed to be doing. So when we would go and review our rocks, there would be a million excuses of why they didn't get to those things. So once again, we had to redesign the team. We had to go back to the basics. So when I say go back to the basics, it's literally creating a block schedule, having on their calendar from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. is going to be admin, taking care of the clients, if your job is the admin person. If your job is sales, the only thing you're going to be doing is sales. That means dialing for dollars, logging into the prospect's account, looking at who needs to be contacted, who had trials last week, and following up. And through this process, I realized that people were just lost. We weren't actually doing what we had planned to do. So I've had to put back on my manager hat and really hold people accountable. And holding people accountable is really, really tough to do, especially when you have really close relationships. And I'm very, very close with all my team members, but there is a part of me that has to be the boss. And that can be really, really challenging if you own a small business. You may be able to relate to what I'm saying is you want to be nice, you want to be friendly, you want everyone to be happy, and you care about their feelings, but at the end of the day, like, there's a job that has to be done. And if those jobs are not done, then that means that the revenue is not going to increase. Our revenue has continued to decrease. So more changes are having to be made. And following the system of EOS is super, super important. I became really relaxed because I was so focused on getting all my work done that I forgot to manage those people. And even though we had those weekly meetings, things weren't really being tracked properly. So the last 6 months has been super challenging. January through April, I had worked really, really hard to make sure that we had a lot of things in place because I had planned to take a month off, which was on my vision board for like a month or for a year or two. I said, I'm going to take the whole month of May off. I'm going to Europe, and that's going to be that. And I did that. And I was able to leave May 1st and not think about work until I came back the last week of May, like May 27th or 28th. So in a future episodes, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how that was possible. I do think that a lot of the stuff that we implemented with EOS and the rocks, however, people do need people to hold them accountable in those weekly check-ins and those time audits and those block schedules, and all those things are super, super important because consistency doesn't always trend and people just don't continue to follow the systems in place. So I have realized that I need to be more hands-on until I can hire an operations director to oversee all of those plans and all the things that we need to execute. Anyways, if I sound like I'm on a hamster wheel, it's because I have been on this hamster wheel for like a year and I'm looking forward to getting off, and I believe that's going to happen very, very, very soon. So if you can relate to me, I'm with you. And
are you looking to enhance your relationship with yourself? If so, get the Stroke It Guide. My book is available on Amazon and on my website. Not only is my book going to help you with your personal journey with yourself, but it's also going to help you with the relationships of other stakeholders in your life. For instance, your spouse or partner, your employer, your employees, your friends, or your family members. And of course, because the title, there is a chapter for your pleasure, which is the last one, in the bedroom. The book offers lots of great tools and resources. There's a lot of great downloads, and it features many of my podcast guests, and they have thousands of downloads and resources that are worth a lot of money. So you're going to want to get my book today. You can buy that on Amazon or on my website, and you can change and take ownership of your life today with one simple click.
Thank you. I'm with you, and it's going to get better. I know it is. The reason I know it's going to get better is because, once again, I always have a 1-3-5, like where we're going to be in 1 year, where we're going to be in 3 years, and where we're going to be in 5 years, and staying true to that. If you've listened to previous podcasts, you know that I spend a lot of time talking about that. So by the end of the year, the goal is to have all 4 of those positions completely filled. So we've got our marketing person that we're going to be hiring very soon, and then operations director position will need to be fulfilled. Ideally, we'd like our administrative assistant or coordinator that's in there to maybe go to that role and then hire another administrative person to go into that role. Those 4 people are going to be the key to the success of our company, growing, thriving, being, sustainable as well. Everything with the economy, people spending money. I mean, it's a child-based business, so it's very, very much of a luxury, not a necessity. It does help with so much development when it comes to personal skills and life skills, and that is a necessity, especially when we're raising the next generation. However, when it comes down to financials, it's more of a luxury than a necessity, and we're very much familiar with that. My take on that too, though, is if we have so much value packed and we have so much loyalty with our current clientele, we're going to be the last thing they cut when things do get tough. So that is a huge part of the focus right now, is really building that loyalty with our team members, number one, so that we can retain them but 2, so they can have that really great loyalty with their clients, to where the clients find it really hard if they need to cut expenses that it's not with us. So if you have any tips or tricks on that, feel free to send that to me as well. We have been doing a lot of personal and professional development with our team members, and we just hosted this amazing team function. We had one of our parents who is an ambassador, and for the past couple months we had individuals write down really cute messages on these circles, which were dots. And this past Monday we had the reveal of the Happy Day Café. So if you go to Music Compound social media, you can view all of the videos, and essentially there were 700 dots, and those dots talked about the impact of our teachers on the students, how healthy the parents were, and all of our team members. It was just absolutely amazing. So if you are looking for something to do for your office or for your place of business to boost morale, culture, and show appreciation, I would highly recommend Googling Have a Nice Day Café, or once again, you can just reach out to me. So that's all about the grind. Like I said, David and I, we took a whole month of May off. That was on the vision boards. We did not plan it. We have a fabulous planner. His name is Robert. He's with an Italian culinary tours, and he basically plans everything. You tell him where you want to go, transportation, translators, excursions. It's just so amazing because it's stress-free, and we don't even have time to plan. So we were able to have an entire trip for 3 weeks overseas, planned completely for us, and it was a great trip. David was actually sick the first 10 days. The portion we were in Switzerland, and Switzerland's weather was so horrible that we didn't really get to see the Swiss Alps. So it was a huge disappointment, and it's super expensive. And if he hears me say this, he'll probably be so mad. But I do feel like that was such a waste of time, energy, and most importantly, money, hard-earned money. But obviously, Northern Italy was great. We spent some time in Prosecco region and finished up in Venice before the massive wedding of Jeff Bezos. But yeah, we took a whole month off, and it was just amazing to be able to take that time for us. And then the team I didn't get a single phone call. I didn't get a single Slack message. I didn't get a single email. Payroll was taken care of. It was just absolutely amazing, and I could not do that if I didn't have the team to do those things as well. And it takes a lot of trust that the team is going to be able to take care of the business while you're out of the country and not even contact you. So it's kind of interesting because now I'm back and I'm actually getting phone calls about the door not closing right, not locked. I'm like, how did you do this when I was out of town? But they do manage that. One of the other things I wanted to mention too was some of the past episodes that were featured while I was in the grind and not able to record all the quickies. If you didn't listen to any of them, I really am going to recommend, I think 10 I wrote down that I would go back and listen to. And if you haven't joined my email list, I would highly recommend going to my website. I believe there's like a pop-up you can put your email address in, and that will subscribe you. All of the podcasts that we drop, they include supplements. So if one of my podcasts or I mention a PDF or a link to download to get something for free or take a quiz to find out this information, all of that is typically in my emails. And sometimes there's like 5 or 6 things, sometimes there's only one thing, but I'm not saying this just because they're my emails, but I really do believe they're valuable. And I would highly recommend getting on that email list so that you can get all the supplements. And there's a lot of inspiration, there's a lot of stories, and there's just a bunch of other great stuff in there. So I just wrote down some of these. So Kendra was just dropped not too long ago. Keisha was from episode 1, and she talks about receipts and tracking wins as well. Sandra was one of my most recent episodes that just dropped. Actually, we talk about employee appreciation and getting to know them and building the life that they want and desire and how to support that and get them there. JJ DiGiorgio was listed as well. Dr. Zoe Shaw, we talked a lot about shame, and it's not about like shame like Brene Brown shame. It's working through that. She has a remarkable story, and she talks about her journey, but she just talks about like being honest with yourself and having those conversations and doing the internal work required. My dear friend Jessica with Customized Styling by Jessica, she talks about dressing for the future you, becoming who you desire, and she talks a lot about self-image and how we can overcome that as well, and we can be so successful, we can be so confident, we can be so beautiful and believe that as well. She's phenomenal. My mom was on the podcast, so if you missed that episode, you're going to want to touch base about that. That is a lot about personal and professional development as well. We share how we've been hiking and things together. And then Catherine, she was also featured, and that was a really, really great episode. She's with the C Group. And basically she and another podcast guest of mine basically like blew up their lives. And we're like, what I'm doing is not serving me. It's not serving my husband. It's not serving my family. And they literally quit their jobs and like sold all their houses and downsized and started all over again. It's just crazy to me. But so they were doing that. So check out those episodes. If you're wanting to learn a little bit more about the history of starting businesses, growing businesses, the challenges that come with running businesses, I talk a lot about that in episodes. I've been doing a lot of guest podcasting where people will have me as a guest, not me being the host, which is really cool. You know, you just get to show up, share your story, and move on. And I have really enjoyed doing that. So I'm looking forward to doing more of that in the coming 6 months, if I can get that on my schedule. And I usually do a really great job with the block schedule, but my company has been so demanding as far as time recently. And once again, auditing everything, auditing marketing, like how much money we're spending in marketing, what's the lead gen, and like financially, acquisition costs. There's been so many things that we've been diving into. Well, when I say we, I mean me. So, and the vendors that I'm working with. But some other podcasts I wanted to mention was I was on the podcast Visit Sarasota with Jeffrey Kin, and it's an arts related podcast. So I talk about how Music Compound started, how it's going, what the future of Music Compound is, and how I run $1 million business with no background in education or music. Agento with Chris, he had me probably about a month or two ago, and that just dropped as well. That is a really great episode, very transparent, super real and honest on that podcast. I think I was like more honest on that podcast. Not that I'm not honest, but I didn't really have a filter that day. So that's a great episode to listen to. John hosts a podcast called Rock School Proprietor, and that is a business podcast for anyone that's running a music school or after school program. Really would be a great benefit for them to listen to that podcast. Devo with the brand story. This podcast was super, super interesting. I didn't do much research. I just basically was like, oh, my assistant set this up. Let me just jump on. And that podcast, we talked a lot about parenting. And most of you know I'm not a parent, but I definitely have some opinions about how to raise children. And no, I don't have children, so I don't understand everything fully, but I do run a child-based business, and I'm with 500 families on a weekly basis, and I've been doing it for 10 years. So I have a lot of experience within that wheelhouse. So I share a little bit about the parenting, and mostly it's more along the lines of like asking your children what they want and what they're passionate about, and not having this predetermined plan of like every school they're going to go to along with the degree and who they're going to marry and where they're going to live. And a lot of that stems from a lot of people, you know, that are in their 30s and 40s and 50s that are unhappy because they're living somebody else's dream, they're living somebody else's life, and they're not getting to do what they want to do. And then they are so driven by the debt and the needs of their families. So I'm just a huge proprietor of finding what your passion is and making that your life, and the money will come later. So we really dive into that. We talk about once again turning obstacles into opportunities, and so I talk a lot about that. Like when I was selling real estate and the market tanked, like no one would hire me. So I had to go back to school and get my bachelor's. I only had my associate's degree. And then that's when the whole music school concept idea came to fruition. But I didn't start it till 6 years later. So it just talks about like when you're down and you're failing and you feel like there's nowhere to go, like that is like when all the magic happens, and that's where you like become innovative, and that's when you become I feel like, not that you're, I don't want to say confident, because confident is not the right word, but like determined. Like you're like, this is not you, and you're gonna find a way out. And like the things that you end up discovering about yourself are so amazing. So it's kind of like how this podcast came about too. Like my marriage was basically, well, it did fail, went completely into the dumps, and then I had to get it back, and now the marriage is even better, and now it's like I have a book, I have a podcast about that. So I would definitely talk about that. And then another podcast that I was on was Off the Fence, which is a divorce podcast, and that's with Karen Covey. And all of these people have YouTubes and they have Instagrams and they have the podcast, so download them. But Karen and I talk about the affair. She's a divorce attorney, and so we talked about how David and I were able to save our marriage, how we were able to rebuild the trust, how to find forgiveness, and how to create this beautiful life together, even after all of the trauma and the drama and the heartache, the pain and the infidelity and all the things that we went through. So I would highly recommend that podcast too, especially if you're on the fence about making your marriage work or not. I have a lot of podcasts that relate to that, since obviously that's like somewhat of the premise of the book, or like the inspiration of the book. So you can find those if you subscribe, or if you even buy a book, you'll get all of those videos. But those are all on my YouTube channel as well. And if you Google To End or Mend and then my name, podcast will come up, and some other great things like that. So so as you can tell, lots of things happening. Looking forward to the next 6 months of 2025. It definitely is going to be focused, and there's going to be even more grinding to do with the economy changing, and just so many things like are just, I feel like in a way like we're in COVID again. So I'm going back to the COVID model, like lean, mean, and profitable. And I don't want to be mean, but I have to be the boss, the leader, not so much the friend and team member, like worker, like, hey, let's high five, even though everything is not working. And it's a really great time to do an audit of all of your finances. It's a great time to do an audit of your time. Where are you spending your energy? How are you spending your energy? Is all the things that you're doing serving you? And for the most part, it may not be. And now is a really great time to pivot, to identify what's not working, what can you eliminate, and how can you make the rest of this year amazing. And I learned, some of this through years of coaching, but a lot of this like amazing aha moments and like reality is also coming from this new group, which it's actually we've been doing it for almost a year now. It's not even that new. It's called Women Who Mastermind, which I have launched with 2 other women, and it is CEO Roundtable. So we meet twice a month, one in person, one virtually. We talk shop, we mastermind, we celebrate each other's wins, we refer each other business, and it is strictly business. So if you're a woman in business and you're wanting to find out more information about Women Who Mastermind, definitely reach out. You can respond to an email, you can send a DM. Kaylee, my assistant, also works with us on that brand as well. And we are not only just locally here in Sarasota, we have a virtual one that meets twice a month, and we have launched in Denver and Chicago, and more cities are coming as well. So once again, that's Women Who Mastermind. We have a website, we have social media, and I would definitely check that out. I'll be doing some more episodes when it comes to that. I'll be doing an episode on the business canvas again, and I'm going to be breaking down how I took a month off, because I think everyone should take a month off if you can. And if you are a business owner, you should definitely be taking some time off. That time is crucial. I have learned that removing myself from the business, allowing people to do the things, whatever's going to fail, those are the things that we need to figure out how to work and how to prevent them. And you also figure out things that are working really, really well. And 2, you just need it. We work so hard. It's 24/7. Like, I never stop stop working. My brain never stops. I mean, I'm here on vacation on the beach for 4 days. Oh, it actually is looking like it's getting nice outside. And my brain is still going. So I think it's really, really important that as business owners that we take a break and we enjoy, all of the fruit of our labor, because I hope you're not like me, but I didn't get paid for 3 years. I didn't take vacation for 5 years. And so it's really, really important that you find the time to do that. So I'm going to encourage, everyone to take a vacation because I think it's so important, whether it's just like 2 or 3 days, or if you can do a full month, that is amazing too. Once again, thank you so much for following the journey, listening to the podcast. If there's any topics that you would like me to talk about, DM those to me. I am going to be working on future episodes for Quickies. We're going to be recruiting some new guest for season 4, which will be launching in October, and we are very, very excited about the future, and we just want to wish you a beautiful day, and cheers to you, and join me on the next episode.
Thank you for tuning into the Stroke It podcast. I hope you were inspired. I hope you're willing and ready to take some action. I want to encourage you to consider 5 people that could benefit from today's podcast. Super simple to share this episode. You never know who could benefit from hearing this podcast and how you could inspire them to create the change in the life that they're wanting. Cheers, and thank you so much for tuning in. Also, consider giving a review.